香港嘅教育系統分為國際學校同埋本地學校，兩個系統嘅學生對彼此存在唔少嘅誤解。正正因為彼此缺乏了解，我哋低估咗兩個制度值得學習嘅地方。喺互相學習之前，我哋要首先了解對方。只有識得欣賞兩個系統嘅優點，我哋先可以改善各自嘅教育方法。呢套短片正記錄咗漢基國際學校同埋木恩中學嘅同學喺交流之中對呢對說法嘅發現。
In the setting that I've been raised up, there's a very clear line between local schools and international schools.
佢啲學生上堂好似係 hea 啲啊，即係好多堂都係玩下咁，唔使太認真。
The local school kids, I think they're really focused on academics.
又唔使去抄嘢啊、背書啊嗰啲嘢啦。
I don't think a lot of them would be as all-rounded as international kids.
I don't know a lot about the local school system, and I'm not proud to admit it because I wish I did.
Hi, my name is Eileen Lung.
I'm Kelly Kwok.
我係何浩晴啦。
My name is Nick.
我就係羅俊森啦。
My name is Catherine.
我叫曹廣啦。
咁我原先就係覺得local school 嘅學生應該係理科方面咧係好過 international school 啦。
Before, I don't know, I guess the local school agenda seemed a lot more strict.
國際學校啲學生係比較，即係佢哋讀書係比較自由啦。
And I've also always thought that international students, as an international student myself, were far more relaxed.
The average international school student is sort of disillusioned with what Hong Kong is all about, while the local school student is more down to earth, but may not have an international perspective about world affairs.
I thought it'd be an interesting insight to see how whether or not this representative was true of them.
I think I would really like to learn about the daily life of local school students because I'm sure that my perception of their lifestyle is completely wrong, and I just want to learn about people who share the same community. Just get to know them better because we are a family basically. We live in the same place, we have the same culture, so why not get to know each other?
喺2015年嘅12月，木恩中學同漢基國際學校舉行咗一個1連4日嘅交流計劃，希望藉此增進彼此嘅了解同欣賞。當同學上課後，佢哋都對課堂所學進行反思。
What do you guys do? Well, what happened was I think the teacher gave them like some material and they had to write like a stance and an argumentative essay about what they thought about like the GDP increase in China and how it affects like, you know, the welfare and the environment of people. And then I was with my partner Brian, I guess, and he was trying to teach me what kind of points to come up with, which was nice of him. And yeah, that was fun, but it's definitely challenging. I expected it to be really, really serious, but then it was actually pretty chill. Even though they only had, like half an hour to write a full essay, it still seemed like the teacher was still like, okay guys, gonna start the timer, you know, just do your best. It wasn't like everybody sit down really serious. And I was kind of surprised. I thought it would be like that.
咁我覺得咁其實都課程上其實我覺得佢都其實大致上都跟到嘅。咁通識上邊，我覺得因為可能佢哋寫慣英文多啲，唔寫中文，所以其實寫中文上面係有啲吃力嘅。我相信其實嗰啲題目都唔難明嘅。 學習習慣都幾中意傾偈，我覺得都幾 talkative 啦，大家都傾到偈咁啊，都幾好例如 CIS 同埋呢度究竟個學習方面有咩分別啊？咁大致上聽到都係我覺得喺 IB 課程上面，我覺得而家聽翻嚟覺得就係似其實係主要係講緊個寫作技巧多啲，就唔係好講究竟我哋答問題要點樣，因為佢係講話俾一條題目你要寫一大篇文，但係我哋而家 DSE 其實似係寫緊要點樣要 exactly 答到一個 answer 先會俾你，可能做閱讀理解嗰啲其實IB 冇乜咁多依類型嘅要 fill in the blank 啊咁依類型嘅嘢。
But some of the cell will become hair, some will become other thing else, okay? Now when I write on the board, I just mentioned nucleus and cytoplasm. That you know in the cell not only these two, you also have different organelles.
Biology.
And what did you do?
We're just talking about like cell division through mitosis. The teachers here are more engaging, I guess, with the conversations with the students when it comes to teaching the classes, just because I don't feel as engaged in my bio class at school. But here it's like relatively easy to understand, and like you go through a few problems together as well to understand, so that you make sure you understand the process. So I think that's pretty good.
Another one is y varies inversely as x squared. Also, you know that there is a relationship between x squared.
I just had math class, and it was very different to what we usually have at school, because at school our teacher teaches us quite slowly. So for example, he puts a question up on the board and he goes like, okay, can anybody tell me what they think should be in this equation, or what you should plug in or something? Whereas here it's more like, okay, this is variation, these are the equations, now here are the questions, do them. And the math teacher, we talked to him afterwards, he said it was because there's a lot of material that has to be covered, so there isn't really the time to go into discussion amongst students.
我諗主要就係因為嗰個課程嘅緊迫啊，所以好多時咧唔能夠變成一個有樂趣嘅課堂咯，因為我哋要趕考試，講咧完成即係成個中學嘅課程，咁我哋好多需要咧將好多重點啊帶住佢哋去諗啊，咁當然。將來會發生啲咩嘢咧，就好明顯就係好睇到佢唔會係一個數學家咯，佢係一個計數好叻嘅人咯。啊，咁會唔理想嘅。如果從一個世界嘅數學嘅發展，佢唔會愛上數學，不過佢計數好叻。咁所以如果你話要佢哋愛上數學，好簡單，真係可以好有趣。不過佢計數唔叻咯。啊，咁我哋要選擇。12YC12個課程本身唔沉悶嘅。但係太多就變成沉悶，佢就會成日不斷問呢個問題：我學嚟做乜？我都唔覺得有樂趣，我學嚟做乜？咁所以好明顯咧，就係如果佢係嗰個 target 係考大學去考試，就好明顯佢有心去砌咯。但係如果你話我都唔覺得重要嘅，咁其實佢哋最難捱嘅就係一啲沉悶咯，因為計數本身都係一啲沉悶嘅嘢，雖然間中有啲高興嘢。
Well, from what I've seen so far, there really isn't that much of a difference. Like I was expecting a really strict curriculum with really hardcore students and really hardcore teachers, but there seems to be a really solid relationship with the students and the teachers. But maybe I can learn to not be so closed-minded when it comes to local schools or the way other people learn, as opposed to the way we learn in international schools. Yeah.
大概6個人啦，咁每一堂都係得10個人咁鬆少少。 譬如個老師可能比較多數係圍圈坐啊，或者點樣就比較個互動性會同個學生傾多啲去 discussion 咁比起 local school 嘅方面係。
About sonata form, you know, the development section, right? And Beethoven is probably the greatest master of sonata. A different fourth. Okay, so I'll play the piece for you, but listen to how those intervals, the tritone, the fourth, the fifth. Okay, so it goes on like that. You can hear it sounds, it's really, really pretty.
Okay, and then you need to fill your cue van up with the solution. Okay, so at the end, you're going to have something like this. Guys, you might want to label what the solution is, but when you're labeling, make sure your label goes on the page. See you. Careful.
It's not her.
Oh!
See you as the
3.0 係咩模啊？0.9啊？但係我唔知
Yes, mix it down, just mix it over. I usually have lunch before you.
我點咗一碟嘅，要攞衫，啱唔啱你？啱啊，要攞七嘅。好似比較多，即係自己學啊，係咪？因為你哋平時上堂用，即係用 MacBook 啦，係嘛？
即係喺 CIS International School 嗰啲學生嘅態度可能會比較會着重去研究，靠自己去諗點樣去個 process 啊，點樣去做一個 experiment，去自己去諗啲 procedure、個 aims 啊等等嘅嘢，而唔係話好似我哋學校即係 local school 咁好 straightforward 喎。你俾晒啲 procedure，你要點樣跟住去做，但係其實你做完嘢唔知點解要咁樣做，亦都做完之後結果點解係咁，其實你哋都唔知咯。即係可能係咯，個心態上我覺得冇咗個 creativity 啊，冇咗個想去自己諗嘢、自己去 solve problem 嗰個心態。
同時，他对东西方文化有自己的体会。体会是什么 ？opinion, feelings， 就是说体会是什么？是他真的感受到的自己的 feeling 和 opinion。这个词是一个很重要的词，大家一定要记下来 ，underline this word， 体会。
During Chinese class today, we were waiting for 15 minutes. Right after 15 minutes, everyone decided to just leave the classroom because our teacher wasn't here. But it turns out she was, and we were in the common room and she came, and we had to go back to class. I think Kenneth was a little bit surprised that we did that. Yeah. So I think it's stuff like that that is probably the biggest difference, or one of the biggest differences between local schools. I mean, I think it's mainly CIS in general that fosters a sort of lazier attitude compared to the local school kids. Well, I wouldn't say that international school students aren't hardworking, but especially I think we are more carefree-ish. If that makes sense.
So it's day 2. I'm pretty excited because we're joining a Form 4 class today. So we'll be doing different subjects, and the atmosphere yesterday was great, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, and it's my first day here. What I've heard, the school is a really nice place to be, so I'm looking forward to my day here as well.
Should I go?
Yeah.
The teacher talked about some uniform rules because the weather is getting cold.
And I thought it was really interesting because she's like, if you do not conform to this sort of new set of rules for winter, then you will have to take your jacket off. And you have the privilege of getting a jumper or something from the office, but like it's really clear cut and it's kind of strict in that sense, which is interesting. And then afterwards we listened to Form 1 boys singing, and it was really cute because they were singing like a medley of Christmas carols, and I think that's something our school kind of needs. Like, I felt like everyone was really together.
Okay, part A. Number 5. The verb.
I just had English. It's pretty interesting, like the style. The class is really engaged and everyone participates in discussion. So for the second half of our class we had a little quiz on verbs, which was interesting. I think I did well, but I think that everyone have the mentality and the preparation to do well in the class. Overall, actually, it's not as bad as some people say, but it really depends on the individual teacher and how they teach. Like, if some teachers teach like the teacher in the English class I just went to, I think the system would be better than what people say it is today overall.
But like, I actually love the way they teach physics here because it's so clear, and the teacher basically goes like, okay, these are all the forces that act on this body, and there's like the normal force, there's the weight, whatever, and he very clearly shows how you can break the components up into like X and Y, and calculation is also made very clear. So even though I was completely confused learning it back at school, I basically relearned it here and I was like, I completely understand it. So I'm really happy about that. And then my buddy was really helpful too. There are obvious advantages. So we're able to follow exactly what is happening and exactly why things happen. And he also made analogies to like real life situations. For example, he was explaining why there's airflow. If you have an airplane, there's airflow above and below the wing, and the wing is curved. And so then he related it to like the Hong Kong MTR. And then like that's the reason why you can't stand beyond the yellow line, because there will be a force that attracts you to the train when it comes by, and then it's really dangerous. So that kind of teaching is like really good for us, I guess, especially when we can relate it to our daily lives. And disadvantages, maybe it kind of limits your creativity and thinking because they tell you exactly what the steps are, so you don't really have the space to think for yourself. But I do think it's helpful just personally because I learn better that way.
Kobe, what did you mention?
So I just had English class. In terms of teaching style, I find that because at the end of the lesson the teacher was trying to tell them that when they come back in January they have a test, like an oral exam, and the topic is to do with e-textbooks and what kind of effect that has on our learning. And so rather than having the students come up with their own ideas though, she was actually writing down points for them. And so there was health and there was like interpersonal relationships and stuff. And she's like, okay, what kind of impact does it have on health? And then your automatic response is, oh, it's bad for your eyes. But there's no sort of balance. Like there's no balanced view, like, oh, it's good, it's bad for your eyes, but then the good things are that it helps you improve because you can like access the internet and it's like more convenient or something. Like, it's very one-sided, I think, in that sense.
I had liberal studies. We had a really in-depth study of current topics in Hong Kong.
或者呢個禽流感嘅再度來犯而全面銷毀，得唔得？要提到再度來犯，點解？
Like, it struck me as actually being rather difficult. Like how deep you need to go in order to be able to actually fully understand how to work the subject as a whole.
嘅理解就係一般嘅學校嘅做法，可能就係就咁一嚿大嘅咩叫健康生活。 係嘛？係咪一個類似咁嘅樣？健康生活裏邊要有啲咩嘅元素咁樣傾？ 咁但係如果係真係要應付香港嗰個 DSE 考試咧，你係要對嗰個嘅議題或者課題要有一定程度了解嘅。另外一個頭先有同學問嘅就係禁煙問題，禁煙其中一個公共衞生比較大嘅一個嘅議題啦。咁你如果係佢講禁煙法例生效之後，會對香港人有咩影響？同埋禁煙法例去到實行之後，佢對香港人嘅生活素質有啲咩影響？係兩個唔同層次嘅提問嚟㗎嘛。咁所以我哋去到睇嘅就係要帶學生去到睇多少少呢啲嘢，就唔好一開波就係我立論話呢樣嘢係衰㗎啦，定性為衰㗎啦。咁所以喺呢啲位裏邊就要帶學生再睇多少少，即係唔係一面倒去到講任何一個嘅情況，任何一個問題嘅產生咧，背後係有好多原因㗎嘛。
I think that it's a bit of a shame. Like we could do a bit more of like some further in-depth engagement and discussion about some topics. That because we always promote like a sense of community, like a communal identity. We could do that by looking into issues that affect Hong Kong, and that might lead us to be less isolated. I think that my initial impressions of the school and what I heard about it this morning, they're all correct. The school is full of nice people and in general a nice place to be.
最 impress 我咧，就其中一樣就係嗰個 film 嗰個 lesson 啦。因為我喺即係我本身間學校咧，就從來未上過呢啲 lesson 嘅。
So are we just at the right place so that you can like?
So being a director.
咁嗰堂都好得意啦，即係我記得個 topic 就係叫我哋睇翻嗰啲1960至70年代嗰啲電影啦。跟住就叫佢哋，即係嗰度啲學生就揀翻啲差唔多嘅 topic 出嚟，做個 project 咁樣啦。咁呢啲都係我喺自己學校未試過嘅嘢啦。
Okay, I'm taking some ethanol. Who's taking chemistry in here besides physics? Okay, what's ethanol? Do you know the chemical formula? So basically, an explosion is going to happen. So we have a lot of hot expanding gas. And the hot expanding gas is forced through this narrow neck. Ready? There you go. That's pretty nice.
我哋學校嘅老師先啦，我哋學校嘅老師，我覺得直言就係佢哋多數咧教書就，譬如佢哋有啲嘢話今堂要教，一定要教晒就算有。老話打晒鐘落堂啊都好啦，都唔會放人嘅，點都要教晒先。但係 CIS 嘅老師就我觀察就比較自由啲啦，好教到呢度好就完啦，跟住就譬如做好多時間剩咁有 free time， 跟住同學就自己做自己嘢啦咁樣。我覺得呢個係最大嘅。我覺得 CIS 第一個印象我就知道 CIS 係國際學校啦，就知道嗰啲英文都好勁啊！呢個我都。我驚係咁，我都覺得溝通唔到呢個我都一直都好驚嘅。但係啲同學都好 nice 啦，都就算唔知邊個行過都 say 晒 hi 咁樣，打晒招呼，我覺得呢個係真嘅。CIS 嘅同學都好 nice。
We're different in some ways, but we're also the same in ways. In terms of we're all still students and we're all still learning. So.
通過今次交流，我哋開始了解同埋欣賞兩個學制。2個星期後嘅今日，我哋聚集咗所有同學去反思今次嘅寶貴經驗。我哋發現兩個系統都有各自嘅優勢同埋局限，兩者都擁有相同嘅目標同埋相似之處。不過最重要嘅係，我哋都渴望通過拉近彼此嘅分歧，去改善自己嘅不足。
Okay, looking back at it, I remember walking in the first day and everyone actually seemed to be very friendly, and the friendship was very distinct. Like, you could see that everyone was close. Like, I thought people would be more hostile because of the focus they would have on academics.
The way they socialize is, I guess, quite on par with us. We're very, I don't know, I felt like they would have been more serious or more, or less playful. But they have just as much banter as we do. So I think that's really great.
咁去完呢個國際學校之後，咁我就覺得其實佢哋真係冇話係心目中咁 free 啦，即係有啲人係真係會認真讀書啊，同埋佢哋空堂嘅時候都會去 library 度自己做嘢啦，或者温習之類嘅。
咁我覺得local school 同埋 international school 最大分別就係主動同埋被動啦。咁我覺得喺國際學校嗰度咧，老師比較要求學生去講嘢啦，好中意去討論啦。跟住如果學生唔講嘢嘅話，我覺得老師可能會覺得佢即係可能冇咩料咁樣啦。但係調翻轉頭，可能喺local school 嗰度咧，就即係傾偈，佢覺得咩嘢都應該要問老師，而唔係即係自由去講咯。
I think that teachers in both local and international schools have the same responsibility to their students, but the sort of differences in the ways that they carry out their responsibilities are reflected in their different teaching methods and the treatment of their students. In local schools, it's very systematic, and the teacher is expected and in fact does like guide you through sort of the checklist of what you need to do well on the like exam. You know, the emphasis is on the exam. In CIS, there are like these times when we do talk about exams, but the sort of mindset that the teacher try to promote is that you should go out and do your own learning, and it's highly independent.
喺 local school 嗰方面咧，其實我哋就係即係唔希望，即係希望只係講晒啲重點啦，唔會話真係話上堂有啲咩時間可以俾我哋話講下啲其他嘢啊，或者係可以去學到課外額外嘅知識咯。
But I actually personally quite like that because they're very clear with the steps, so solving problems is a lot easier. I guess you could say it's a little more spoon-fed in that sense, but at the same time, personally, I like that there's that kind of guidance.
咁跟住咁我聽就話每一個禮拜都有2-3個鐘係要做 career mapping 或者講一講佢嗰啲前途嗰啲，都幾意外嘅。咁我諗住其實 international school 係可能無憂無慮啊，可能俾啲富家子弟讀啊，好得閒，好休閒，唔使讀書嘅，淨係不停周圍去就得㗎啦咁樣。咁我覺得我冇諗過係需要每個禮拜都要2-3個鐘頭去做嗰啲 career mapping 或者話俾你聽究竟邊啲大學好嗰啲。因為我哋學校可能都係做1-2次一年，即係可能叫你讀書仲多過叫你究竟揀邊間大學要點樣揀嗰啲，其實都唔多係。
For me personally, it's not really a big deal. I just want to be able to go to the university that suits me best and be able to study what I want to study. Whereas I think for a lot of people, it's to, I guess, get the highest grades, to get the most money, to go to the best university. The race to get to the best college is quite unhealthy.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm not in year 13, so I don't really know yet, but it's bad to the point where they're unable to talk about it with one another because they're competing amongst themselves even if they don't like show it.
Students are inherently comparative. They like to compare what they're doing with what their peers are doing, and they like to measure themselves against their peer group. But we also have a demanding parent body. People want to be able to say, yeah, my son, my grandson is going to X, Y, Z.
In CIS, the parents are so successful and they have such high hopes for their kids, and when each one of us have such high aims, we give pressure to each other to strive for the highest grades as well.
CIS is a very, very stressful place. People are often put in moods where they can't control how they feel, and then they kind of spiral into depression sometimes. And it's the truth, I have to say. Like, it's something you can't avoid, and that's why, contrary to popular belief, again, international schools, or at least CIS, is not the happy place that people think it is, because of the academic stress caused by peer pressure and by parents and students or whatever. CIS has become a place where we actually need counselors. We need to be told that our mental health is important for us to actually acknowledge it, you know.
咁跟住究竟大學準備讀咩科？咁你就起碼要考到某個分數，你先可以揀到你想揀嘅科，即係 imply 咗要成績一定要好先咯。如果唔好嘅話，就根本就入唔到大學或者揀唔到你想要嘅科咯。咁係咯。
咁講到入大學方面咧，同學都好勤力咁練習同埋操嘅，要搣到某個分數先至可以入到啦。咁所以如果我個人咧，我都擔心自己入唔到大學嘅。咁但係可能比較多人都會有呢個問題。
咁 local school 咧，即係如果唔靠DSE 讀大學嘅話咧，要靠其他方法就比較難啦。咁屋企人就梗係會俾壓力我哋啦，因為都想我哋考好呢個試，跟住第時可以做份好啲嘅工咁樣啦。
咁對於 local school 嘅學生嚟講咧，相信佢哋至少都會被佢哋嘅家長灌輸，就係一定要讀大學啦，讀唔到大學出嚟就揾唔到工，就係唔成功嘅人啦。去到讀緊 local school 嘅時候，每一個學生都會好發奮去讀書啦，去追求自己考更好嘅成績，入一間更好嘅大學。
咁我覺得其實 local school 咧就某程度上都影響咗個學生本身嘅即係潛能咁啦。可能有啲學生係電影啊、音樂啊呢啲冇咁主流嘅方面叻啲嘅咧，但係喺 local school 咧冇咁大機會去接觸到呢啲啦，同埋第時出到嚟可能都俾人覺得係冇乜用啦。但係 international school 咧就學生讀嘅嘢真係跟翻佢哋嘅興趣嚟讀啦。我覺得咁樣咧係等啲學生可以發掘自己嘅潛能啦。
From what I observed is that everyone here is aware of their own strengths. We tend to develop ourselves in our own ways. We all have a lot of resources to develop our own strengths. So I guess in presenting who you are, what strengths you have, that's not quite a big problem for students in CIS.
I think those resources can help us to a certain extent, as in it makes it easier for us to learn, but we also have to know how to use these resources and utilize them carefully in order to stop them from hindering our progress, such as getting distracted easily when we have our own laptop.
I think a lot of the people at the local schools might not exactly have the opportunity to use their laptops on a daily basis or on an hourly basis or however we use it. But I think also our social lives outside of school may not always be hanging out with friends, but maybe just alone time to watch a TV show made in the US, whereas that might not be as popular in local schools. So I think the socializing aspect, like the physical connection for local schools, may be greater.
I was there a few hours. I can see the students, they have a lot of freedoms. They stay in the common rooms a lot, doing own stuff. They did use their laptop, you know. They have a MacBook. Everyone have a MacBook, right? They were doing stuff, homework, Facebook, you know, things like that. But they don't talk to each other a lot. They're doing their own stuff. I think here in IOC is better. They have a lot of activities. They have to work together. They're good friends. They sing, they do stuff, they play instruments and together.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions about local school students is that they are like, you know, study robots. And I think that there's nothing more distant from the truth. In reality, we are basically going under the same sort of stress, the same sort of academic experiences. And in fact, the only difference that is really noticeable is the setup of the classroom in both sort of teaching styles and also the computers on the desks. And I think also on the same turn, I hope that they've also learned more about how we learn, and that hopefully they don't think we're as rich or stuck up as they might have thought.
好啊，咁今次咧就好笑，有一次係有機會可以做下究竟同一啲 exchange student 一齊上堂啦嚇，咁呢都係次幾新奇嘅經驗啊！頭先就好多謝好啊幾位同學俾咗呢個咁美妙嘅時光我啦。咁除咗呢樣就係我覺得其實今次都係話可能俾我了解到其實原來係每間學校都有唔同嘅苦衷，即係可能其實我覺得兩種方法雖然係可能自然不同啦，兩種教法，但係兩者究竟會唔會埋沒到每個人天分？我覺得
我相信天分呢啲嘢，就算中學你可能冇真係冇開發到，其實你喺中學嘅時候你都已經 learn 咗啲 skills， 其實係有助你可能未來再被發現呢個 skill， 所以其實就冇話究竟係咪即係讀邊一種系統係好啲咯。
Local schools and international schools have different ways of learning, and each of these ways of learning have their pros and cons. So I think if we collaborate, we can kind of eliminate the cons from each of the ways of learning.
I think that would be a good idea, since I think in this world overall, and especially in this sort of level where so many misconceptions are present, we need to understand each other more, and therefore, since we have to collaborate with each other in later life anyways, we might just as well start earlier.
After the experience, I know that I felt so grateful to be able to experience it, because it completely changed my thought about what the local school would be like, and it definitely wasn't as bad as everyone says that it is. So, I don't know, I'm just really happy. I think the government should definitely promote this kind of collaboration more, because people need to know that we aren't so different, and there shouldn't be such a clear divide between the two systems, because we are a community and we should act like one. We should stop being so separate.